Chapter 12. As time passed, Rebecca became more reclusive. Her indifference toward others hindered all progress, but after 3 weeks of nothingness, she surprised John. "You're painting," he said when he entered her room. "Good for you." She refused to look at him. "Where'd you get the supplies?" "The art therapist," she said. "She brought them up here?" "I asked for them." "Good for you," he said again, standing near her, watching as she splattered paint across the canvas. Black streaks covered the underlying colors. The texture was heavy and thick. "What are you painting?" he asked. "You." John bit his lip to catch the slip of a laugh or a retort. "That's very interesting." "No, it's not." "Well, I'm here to watch." "No. Leave." "Well," he glanced over at the desk. "I'm actually here to talk with you." "No." More paint splattered onto the canvas. "I'd like to know what you're thinking. If you're upset." He watched the bristles of the brush smash and smear the paint. "It seems we could talk about it." "Not now." "Well," he stalled, looking around the room, hunting for something. "Is there anything I can do for you?" The brush hit the canvas with a little extra force. Paint splattered. "You can leave." The laugh had long since fled, but the retort was growing stronger. He stood next to her. "I'm not just going to go away. You know that, right? I'm going to keep coming, and coming, and coming. So you have a choice. You can either work with me or against me, but no matter what, you're stuck with me for now." She shrugged. "I don't have to talk to you." "You're stubborn." The words slipped out before John could pull them back, so he ran with them. "You know, if you would just use your energy toward helping yourself, I've no doubt you'd take off. You'd see that Rebecca can have a life. You'd amaze yourself at who you could be." Again, the paintbrush smashed against the canvas and twisted the paint around. "You want to keep fighting," he continued. "You want to struggle against me, but it's really yourself you're fighting." She jabbed the brush into the paint. "I don't hear you." "No, I think you hear me." He watched the paint smear across the canvas. "I think you choose not to listen, but you hear me." She plunged the brush into a full cup of water. Heavy drops splashed to the floor. "I want to help you get out of here, Rebecca. Do you understand that? You don't want to stay here forever. If you'd just work with me, we could move you along." The paintbrush hit the canvas, hard. Blots of paint stuck to the surface. "I don't have to listen to you." "No, Rebecca, you don't have to listen to me. That choice is yours." Dr. Landerson had been right. As a beginning therapist, John didn't have the skills necessary to work with chronic patients. Instead, he should direct his energy elsewhere. The following week, his mind sorted through the needs of Cassidy, the newest member of the group. She had a belief that every night on the 6 o'clock news, her personal life was being broadcast. Numerous times, she'd sent letters, made phone calls, and politely asked the newscaster to refrain from sharing the intimate details of her life. The only response she received was the network denying any such occurrences. In retaliation, Cassidy visited the newsroom with a loaded weapon. 2 men were injured, and she was immediately hospitalized. Now, John needed to prove to Cassidy that her television perceptions were false, which at the moment proved to be a huge challenge because, in reality, her picture was currently being broadcast on the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock news. John sorted through his thoughts while heading toward the group classroom. In the east hallway, Dr. Hunter stopped him. "Sanders." The psychiatrist's face was sober. His eyes looked tired. "Have you heard?" "What?" "About Fawn." "No, what?" "She's dead." "What?" "Committed suicide 2 days ago." "No." John collapsed against the wall. It came as a huge surprise to everyone. Did she stop her medication? We don't know. No one knows details. John spoke the words that hung around them. Did we make a mistake? Dr. Hunter shook his head, but avoided John's eyes. 10% of schizophrenics commit suicide. That's just the outcome. We can try our best, but some things can't be changed. They're out of our control. It's just the nature of the beast. Anyway, I thought you'd like to know. After Dr. Hunter walked away, John still leaned against the wall while painful questions echoed in his mind. Eventually, his feet moved him toward the classroom where he was greeted by familiar faces. Dale, Maxwell, Mary Jean, Thomas, Arnie, Cassidy, Cameron, Rebecca. All of them were looking at him, relying on him, trusting him, but he was incapable of being what they believed him to be. If he couldn't save Fawn, he couldn't save the others. What was their ultimate desire? Happiness? That was why they were here. That was what they were truly searching for, but they had lost their way. He wanted to teach them about hope and belief, show them that they could obtain the things they sought. He wanted to make the process sound as easy as finding a paved path, a designed course that if followed would lead them to their dreams. But perhaps such an approach was naive. He had always wanted to be positive, optimistic, hopeful. But now, John's responsibility seemed too great, too overwhelming. Now the ugliness revealed itself. In desperation, he talked with the group about recovery and the difficult road required. The recovery process has less to do with recovering from your illness and more to do with discovering your sense of self. In fact, recovery is marked by an ever-deepening acceptance of our limitations. It's a process, a way of life. The development is like a spiral. You'll have another crisis, and you'll feel the pain just as deeply as before. But rather than letting this destroy you, honor that pain and the heroism it takes to continue this journey. In order to control some unwanted emotion, John stopped. Every group member was watching him. Each time you have a setback, you also have to remember that you've gained knowledge from past experiences. You're getting stronger, even if you don't immediately feel it. You have to know you're growing. Most importantly, please remember that the hard times are not where you'll be stuck forever. You just need to be strong and patient while you pull yourself out of a difficult moment. Take courage, and you'll grow into a stalwart person and be more equipped for the next blow. Through the 90-minute session, John's mind kept returning to Fawn. The heavy pit in his stomach demanded attention, and the reality aimed to freeze his capabilities. The group was supportive, possibly oblivious to John's changed state. Everyone had comments, even Rebecca. In fact, after group had ended and the members had dispersed, John noticed her lingering, studying the self-affirming posters that decorated the walls. "Rebecca?" he asked. "Dr. Sanders." She looked at the floor. "I want to talk to you." John smiled. "Okay. I have a question for you." "Yes?" Again, she directed her attention to the assortment of esteem-promoting posters. "What is it, Rebecca?" Slowly, she turned to face him. "Dr. Sanders, how crazy am I?" A direct question. John tried to be sympathetic and positive in his response. "You struggle with some things, but if you're willing to get help, to work with me and the others, you can and will get better." "Oh. Would you like to get better?" "Maybe." "You deserve the best." "Well, I have another question. Could you keep bringing me books, like you did for..." "Of course." John released a sigh, as if her request had just lightened the rest of the heavy afternoon. "What would you like?" "The kinds you've been bringing, and more fairy tales." John raised his eyebrows and gave her a simple grin. "Why those?" "They remind me of when I was young, and Father would read them to me." "So you like them because of your father?" She nodded. "It was when he was happy." And stories bring back good memories. Yes. See, this is good. Rebecca, these are the things I want you to share. When I come visit you for your individual time, I want to know what you value. The good memories and also some of the bad. Why? Why what? Why do you want to hear the bad? He shoved his hands into his pockets and looked at her eyes. They seemed clearer, more focused, ready for something. I want you to know, he said, keeping his tone even. I'm not interested in dwelling on your past. I'm more concerned about focusing on the present and on your future. However, if we take a little time to discuss your past, we'll understand what shaped you, what's significant to you, and how these coping skills within you have developed. She blinked. Then her eyes focused away, as if looking inward, seeing what only she could see. Oh, does that sound like a good reason? He asked, keeping a close watch on her mannerisms. She looked back at him, the focus clearly there again. You said I could get better? Yes, he smiled. You can. What would I have to do? First, he kept his voice calm, you'd have to accept my help and work with me, and the rest of the staff. That's it? For now. That should be. An image of Fawn crept into his mind. He mentally pushed the picture away in order to focus on Rebecca. Yes, that would be the first step. What do you think? I'll think about it. He looked at her eyes, which looked back at him. Still clear and focused. Please do. Weeks later, John sat in his office and watched the second hand tick around the clock. 20 minutes remained, but 5 p.m. seemed too far away. His impatience grew. He couldn't last another minute. He headed for the parking lot. It was early January, but the skies showered rain instead of snow. The atmosphere was dismal and dark. He wouldn't think about work. He turned the radio up until it blared in his ears. The lyrics from the Burning Flag's Don't Ever Ask Why screamed through his vehicle. He tried to sing along. Despite the noise, Rebecca's words still echoed in his ears. She had asked, "What's it like out there?" He wanted to talk to her about such things, about setting goals and moving forward, but instead he'd acted ignorant. "It's nice, but you know that," he said. "If you want, we can go for a walk. It might rain or snow, but if you bundle up, you'd be okay for a little while." She clarified. "No, I mean beyond the gate." "Well, you'll get to go out there soon enough," he said vaguely. "The annual field trip to Disneyland is coming up, and I'll recommend you're included." "We all live, we all die," the lyrics rang through his car. "Get your greenbacks and don't ever ask why." John pushed harder on the gas. The wheels screeched around the corners. His foot urged the car to a dangerous speed for wet pavement, but he needed to rebel. He didn't want to think about her, but her solemn words kept coming. "That's not what I mean. I want to be out there." This should have been good, but under the circumstances, it wasn't. He didn't know how to respond. She had pushed further. "You said I could get better and leave here." He'd remained expressionless. "And you do want this?" Then she sounded confused. "I'm not sure." A commercial about an antacid blared over the speakers. John searched for another song. He had to stop thinking about her. A few yards ahead, a rock slide came into view. He jerked around the small boulders and passed a tow truck rescuing a car with 2 flats. John slowed down and tried to focus on the drive, but mesmerizing raindrops kept splattering against the windshield. He had agreed to help her. Then again, it was only after he had told her it would be hard, after he had intentionally discouraged her. As he pulled into his covered parking, he heard honking. Randy, smiling and waving, was also turning into the carport. This was what John needed. A visit with Randy would defer his unwanted thoughts.